So child's pose, sitting back on your heels, allowing your hips to sink back. Open your knees wide, and if you need to sit on something to accommodate tight hips or back, or knees, excuse me, please feel free to do so. And you can have your arms outstretched under your head, by your side, in between your legs, and I'll let you choose what feels right for you today. You can also, if you have a block, you can also put your arms out on blocks. It's a little bit more intensive on the shoulders, but that's up to you. I will be keeping my head up and down. I'd like you to keep your head down for this. Just release the neck and shoulders and start to connect to your breath. So our initial connection to our yoga practice is our breath, and it is the one constant that stays throughout the entire class, right? The poses may change, especially in a vinyasa practice. We move from pose to pose, but the breath is what connects us to the pose and connects us to the yoga practice and connects us to whatever higher self you want to connect with. So as the arms stretch out in front of you, let your belly soften, let your hips sink back to your heels. Again, if you have tight hips or knees, sit on a block, a blanket, a towel. Lift your hips up a little higher. And then, doesn't matter where your arms are right now, just kind of settle into this movement. Maybe even, I like to shift a little side to side. And maybe do a little bit of cat and cow, just rounding and extending my spine. So again, it's kind of up to you where you need to be right now. And then when you're ready to settle into it, just settle into it. And start to notice your breath, how it moves through your body. Where do we spread the breath to? And how can we lengthen and maintain the sweet quality of that breath without causing stress to our bodies? So now I'd like you all to reach your arms out in front of you if they're not already. And lift your fingers off of the mat for a moment, spread them apart, and then place them down individually so that your thumb and your forefinger kind of create like an L shape. And then push the heel of the hand down and forward so you can push your hips back to your heels. Relax your head and shoulders down to the floor or whatever you're on. And just breathe. In its simplest form, this is yoga. And if you ever want to come back to this pose, please do. I encourage you to take child's pose. I take it all the time as a student. Now one more time, lift up your, this time lift up the heel of the hand so we're tenting our fingers. Try to create no stress in your neck and shoulders. And then walk your hands to your right side and then press the palms back down, left hand on top of right. And push your hips back to your heels, relax that left shoulder down. See if you can breathe more into the left side of the body. And then just relax into this. So create some length on the left side of the body from fingertip to heel or to hip. And then stay with your left hand out and cross your right arm underneath it, maybe all the way to the other side of the mat, maybe not. And then bring your torso back to center. So your left arm should be crossed over your right arm. Good. Inhale. And exhale. So left arm is over, right arm in a cross. And we're going to sit back on our heels and you'll see it a little bit more visually. As you sit back, your arms are crossed. And if you can double cross those arms, double cross the arms, opening up the shoulders. And then raise the arms up a little bit higher, maybe in line with your shoulders. So your hands are just kind of in front of your face, right? They're right down the midline of your body. Lift your heart up. Pull your elbows forward. Maybe do a little more of a back bend here, not too extreme yet. And as you release the breath, exhaling, arms come down and back up over your head. And then place them out right in front of you again, child's pose. So sit back to where we just came from. Heel of the hand pushing down, pushing the hips back to your heels. And once again, tense your fingers so you rise up onto the balls of the fingertips. And walk over to your left side, place the palms down, right hand on top of left hand, and push your right hip to your heel. Look underneath your right arm if that satisfies your neck. If you need to release any other way, if I give you suggestions that don't work for you, I want you to take what works for you. One more breath here. Keep your right hand down and move your left hand underneath the right arm towards the opposite end of the mat. Maybe it'll get there, maybe it won't. And then bring your torso back to center, so now your right arm is crossed over your left arm. And then come back to sitting on your heels, so right arm in front of left arm, and if you can, we're gonna double bind it. And we're gonna lift the arms up in line with the shoulders, and the hands are right in front of the face, so it's like you're cutting your body in half here. And then lift your heart up a little bit more, open up the front of your shoulders and chest, take another breath. And as you empty that breath, release the arms, stretch them up overhead, reach all the way up, draw those ribs down and under, and exhale the arms back out, child's pose. This time, creep your fingers a little further in front of you and pull yourself up onto your knees. Shift your legs or just shake out your legs behind you for a second, just release some tension in the knees. Keep the arms a little bit out in front of your shoulders, keep the knees behind your hips, and if you need to, I need to walk forward a little bit more. Lift your hips up and drop chin and chest towards the floor. If bringing the chin to the floor is too much for your neck, let your forehead touch the floor. So now your tush is up in the air, your belly is towards the floor, shoulders relax away from the ears. Great stretch on the front of the chest and shoulders. Take one more breath here, gang. Then lower the forearms to the floor, shift yourself forward, and then just tuck your toes under, find a forearm plank just for the breath. And then shift a little forward of your elbows and lower your hips to the floor. Let's start with our legs open. So our feet are wide or wider than the mat. Our arms or shoulders width apart, like an L shape right here. So the shoulders are right above the elbows. This is called Sphinx pose for those of you who are not sure. And then I want you to draw the heel of the hand back towards your elbows, and your elbows towards your hips, and your hips towards your elbows. So we're kind of creating this lengthening of the spine, opening up at the front of the shoulders and chest. If this is too much for your neck, drop your chin down. If it's still too much, lay on your belly, do a small cobra pose. One more breath here. Good. Exhale, bring your body down to the floor, bring your hands back by your rib cage, elbows squeeze in by your side. We're going to do that cobra pose so you know it for the future. Push your pubic bone towards the floor. Without using your hands, lift your chest up off the floor. Now again, my head is up, I'm looking at you, but I want you to keep your head down. So keep your neck in line with your spine, or your head in line with your spine. And squeeze your elbows in by your rib cage. Pull your collarbones towards the front of your mat. One more breath. Exhale, come down. Push your hips to your heels, tuck your toes underneath you. Sit back in that child's pose one more time with a nice tucking of the toes. And then pull yourself with a rounded spine, hands on the floor, hands under shoulders, knees underneath hips into a cat pose. Inhale, release your toe tops, arch your back, broaden your collarbones. Let's do that one more time. Round your back, tuck your toes, chin to chest, big angry cat, spread your shoulders from side to side. And then inhale, dip your belly, arch your back, broaden your collarbones. And then come back to center and wag your tail a little bit side to side. Let's get a little bit more juice in these joints. Let's start to make circles with our hips, small movements. Small movements can lead to big movements if that's what your body is calling for, dancing lions. Just making circles, juicing up the joints of the shoulders, hips, knees, wrists, ankles, fingers, toes. Boy, that's a lot of joints. Welcome to the joint. And in reverse it, maybe start off small. Just see how your body reacts at this very moment. Every time we step on this mat, it could be a completely different experience. I always say it's like I have like an alien experience sometimes. It's so different. And then come back one more time, back to neutral. Hands come back under shoulders if you move them, tuck your toes underneath you. And we're gonna lift our hips up off the floor, our knees up off the floor. And with a soft bend in the knees, we're gonna come into a downward facing dog. Stay there. And those of you who are familiar with your dogs, you can walk your dog out. So you should be in an upside down letter V. There. Perfect, Pamela. Good. Good. Now draw those shoulders back towards each other. Peter, open your knees a little bit so they don't knock in together. Yeah, there you go. Breathe. Good. So we're up on our toes and we're down on our heels and we're bending our knees and we're shifting from side to side. And again, we're just kind of juicing up the joints and just getting our body ready. The first downward dog of the day feels like eternity. So if you need to come back down, if you want to come back down to a child's pose, feel free to go there. Come high up on your toes. Shift your body forward. You can be on your knees if you need to. Shoulders over wrists. Pull the head forward, pull the tailbone back. So plank is like a push-up. And I know we've all done at some point in our lives where we attempted a push-up, right? Look forward, don't look down. Good, now push your hips back up in the air. Downward facing dog. Breathe. Now if you want to settle into this dog and stay here, great. If you want to keep moving, keep moving. Sometimes it's our mind that needs to move rather than our body, so just listen to your body, be in tune with it. One more time, come up on your toes, pull your knees up. Shift yourself forward to a plank, which is like the top of a push-up. It's a very powerful pose. Push the heel of the hand down. Spread your shoulders apart. Lift your belly up and in. And now I want you to shift just ever so slightly forward of your wrists and lower your hips to the floor. And just kind of, it's a hybrid between a cobra and up dog and all those other poses. So just come down and lift your heart open. Good, push back to your heels. Reach your arms back, child's pose. One more time, breathe in. Come up to hands and knees, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. So this is a pose we get in a lot. Sometimes it becomes a resting pose, sometimes it's an active pose. And that's sometimes just up to you. Bend your knees and look at your hands. Slowly walk your feet to the front of your mat, coming into a standing forward fold. Take 2 fists in between your feet so you have approximately the width of your hips, and let your head hang down. And sway side to side. Good, let's take our 2-piece fingers on each hand. Wrap them around your big toe. Wrap your thumb in between the fingers and the toe. Lengthen your spine, look forward. Keep your knees as bent as you need. Exhale, bring the elbows out to the side and the head to the shins. And shift your weight a little bit forward. Let your neck be long. Let your body just hang. So we're pulling against our toes, opening up the upper shoulder back. Inhale, lengthen your spine, pull against the toes again. And with a breath, bring your hands to your heart or your hips and rise up to standing all the way up. When you get up to standing, bring your arms by your side, separating your feet, keeping your feet separated, hips width apart. So it's about 2 fists in between, and this is when we talk about the hips, we talk about these hips, right? Bring your arms down by your side, open up your shoulders, spread your fingers broad, like we did on our mat before. Take a breath and bring the arms all the way up over your head. So yeah, Peter, just adjust your camera so I can see your whole body. Take your arms up overhead, reach out of your waistline. I know the hardest thing about live stream is to where we get our cameras, yeah? Breathe in, and I'm just gonna mute you, but if you need me, you come back. Good, so stretch your arms up over your head, palms up to the ceiling, ribs towards the hips. So if your ribs are pooching out here, you're probably dumping into your lower back. So I want you to adjust that so that you don't take this into your back. Lean to your right side as you exhale. Lean up and over, open up your heart. Try not to collapse into that right side. Stay strong in your legs and come back up on an inhale. Up and over to your left side as you exhale. Pull the right arm with the left, lift out of belly. Come back up to center, inhale. Exhale, open the arms and cactus them. Keep the tailbone tucked under, lift your heart up. Bring your arms behind your back, chin to chest. Lengthen your spine, everything lifts. Forward fold as you come down. Hang your head down, arms up over your head, over your back, wherever you can. Try to squeeze the upper shoulders towards each other and open up the front of the collarbones, the front of the shoulders. One more breath. Good, let's release the arms and just fold, Uttanasana, forward fold. Chin to chest, belly to spine, pelvic muscles lift up. And roll up slowly like a rag doll. Come up to standing, roll your shoulders back and around. Step your feet together at the top of your mat if you're not there already. Arms by your side. Take a breath in as you bring your arms up over your head. As you exhale, fold through the center, hands to floor, shins or blocks. Halfway lift, rise up on your fingertips, or maybe you put your hands on your shins. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, halfway lift, look forward, step your right foot to the back of the mat. Just a big long stretch. So your left knee is over your ankle and you're on the ball of the back foot. You can always drop to the knee of that foot, of that leg. Now hug that left hip towards midline, hug that right hip towards midline, and really feel some action in your hips. And pull your right kneecap up, your right kneecap. Engage your quadricep muscles. Look forward, step forward again. Lengthen your spine on the inhale, fold on the exhale. Inhale, rise to stand, bring your arms all the way up over your head, and bring that prayer back down to your heart center. Arms by your side as you exhale. One more time, inhale your arms all the way up. Fold through your center, exhaling, hands to floor, shins or blocks, wherever you need to be. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Halfway lift, inhale. And then refold, just let your body go, exhale. Halfway lift, inhale. Bring your left foot to the back of the mat. So it's a big step. Generally, it's one of our own leg lengths between our two legs. So for those of us with long legs, you should be taking a big, giant step back. Right knee is over the ankle. You can always bring that back knee to the floor. Hands on the floor or blocks will help. Now draw that right hip towards midline, draw that left hip towards midline, and lift your belly up off your thigh so you're not collapsing your body weight into your thigh. One more breath, pull that left kneecap up, look forward. As you exhale, step left to right, top of the mat, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, and let's rise to stand all the way up, hands up overhead, and hands to your heart center. Exhale, arms by your side. We're going to do Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation A. Follow along with me and I'll guide you through it. Inhale, bring the arms all the way up overhead. Exhale, fold through your heart center, hands to floor, shins or blocks. Halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Exhale your right foot back and then your left foot back. You're in a high plank, so that push-up position. Everybody lower down to your knees. Bring your chin and chest to the floor, hips in the air. And then push off and glide on your belly, low cobra. So this is a modification, which is not really a modification. This is a pose. These are all poses. As you exhale, sit to your heels and tuck your toes. Lift your hips up in the air, downward facing dog. Breathe in. We'll stay here for a few breaths. This is where your down dog becomes that resting pose. So we're working our body into an upside down letter V. Breathe in, stay there. Breathe out. Good. Shift the weight out of your hands towards your heels, and if it's too much, go back down to your knees. One more breath. Look forward, step your right foot or your left foot forward. I don't care. It doesn't matter how you get there right now, as long as you lengthen your spine. And fold. Rise up to stand. Bring the arms all the way up. Bring the hands to your heart center. We're going to do that all again. Arms come all the way up overhead. Inhale. Exhale, fold right back down through your heart center. Halfway lift, inhale. Step either foot, doesn't matter, to a plank. Lower down to your knees. Those of you who want to go further, come halfway down with straight legs, Chaturanga Dandasana. And then you roll through for your bigger back bend, upward facing dog. You can be on your belly as we just did. Downward facing dog, hips up in the air, breathe. Inhale. And exhale. Now while you're in this dog, think about spreading your upper arms away from each other so your pinky fingers reach towards the edges of the mat. One more breath. Look forward, make your way to the top of the mat. Doesn't matter how you get there. Halfway lift. Some of you will jump through, some of you will step through, some of you will float through. Fold down, exhale. Rise up to stand, inhale, arms come up. Hands to your heart center, arms by your side. Surya Namaskar A, one more time. Bring the arms all the way up overhead. Exhale, fold through your heart center, hands on floor, shins or blocks. Halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Make your way back through plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, either on your knees or straight leg. Upward dog or low cobra on your belly. Good. Downward dog, hips up in the air. And there's that old friend again, downward facing dog. If it's not friendly enough to you, go to your knees, child's pose. Breathe in, breathe out. And the more we practice yoga, and the more we move, the more we understand our body and how it can move. Take another breath, bring your feet closer together now. Come high up on your tippy toes. Stay on your left toes and lift your right leg in the air. Nothing really acrobatic. Now bend your left knee and square off your hips, so that right hip's going to drop a little bit. And then bring your right knee to your chest, round and curl, and step that right foot through. Now we will lower the knee to the floor. Right knee over the ankle. Left knee is on the floor, but you're not directly on your kneecap. You're not directly on your patella. You're just ahead of it. So you're stretching a really deep stretch into your psoas on the left side. Come up to your fingertips or blocks. And let's all place our hands on our right thigh. And as we do this, I want you to push your right knee forward, but hug your right hip towards center. Hug your left hip towards center. Lift your heart up. So if you can, if you want to, you'll have to move back a little bit on your left knee. You can straighten your arms. So that depends on how that feels on your left knee, or how much you want to really stretch into the psoas more than the upper back and arm straightening. Good. Release the arms and stretch them up overhead. Inhale. Exhale, bring your hands down to your heart center. Touch your thumbs to your heart. Tilt forward in your pelvis just a little bit, just enough, and you should start to feel that right glute activate. Turn to your right side and hook your left elbow outside your right thigh. Bring your thumbs to your sternum. So here I want you to lift your belly off your thighs, and as long as you're not pregnant, this is the twist. If you're pregnant, anybody out there, twist the other direction. Thumbs to your heart, hug your hips towards midline. So the idea is that we're not collapsing onto that left thigh, that right thigh, but we're using the strength of our torso and our bodies to twist us. One more breath. Come back to center on an inhale. Bring the arms back overhead. On the exhale, hands to the floor. Straighten your front leg as best you can. If your hamstrings are tight, you might need blocks under your hands, or you may want to just keep that knee bent. You can lift the toes up or keep them down. Lengthen your spine. Walk your hands a little bit more forward and fold a little deeper, head towards shin. So again, hug your hips towards midline, scissor squeeze it all in. One more breath. Good. Release the knee, bend the knee, tuck the left toes underneath you. Step back to a downward facing dog, hips up in the air. Walk your dog from side to side now. And then walk your feet together, touch. Rise up on both toes. And then lift the left leg in the air. Bend the right knee, square your hips, so drop that left hip down a little bit. Bring the left knee to the chest, round and curl. Step left foot through. Lower the right knee to the floor. So you get time to adjust the knee over the ankle. And at first we're on above the knee. We're not sitting directly on top of it unless that's something you want to do. And then climb to your fingertips, pull your shoulders back and open your collarbones. Hug towards midline. Hands on top of the thighs, pull your heart up. Now push your left knee forward, push your right hip forward, unless you think you want a little bit different of a stretch, a little different on that back leg, a little bit different, but you're on your knee. So that's not going to be for everybody, and the arms go straight. So you see where you need to be. I always need the hip flexor stretch really deep because I'm tight. Not that I sit all day, but I'm tight. Take another big breath. Good, let's bring the arms up overhead. Inhale, arms and hands in prayer, bring prayer to the heart. Now tilt just slightly forward, just enough to feel the lean and feel that left glute start to fire up. Twist to your left side, right arm outside left thigh. And then what I do is I hook it around and then I lift my belly up and then I twist. Thumbs to the heart. Look over your left shoulder and hug everything back towards midline. So we should be with our left leg on the floor, right arm outside, and twisting to our left side. It's another breath. On the inhaling breath, rise back to center, arms come all the way up. And as you exhale, hands to the floor, straighten your front leg, any amount. Move the hips towards midline. If you want to lift the toes, lift the toes. And then let's try to walk the hands a little bit more forward, a little bit more intense there. Breathe in, hang your head towards your shin, breathe out. Hook your hips towards each other, so really plug it in towards midline. One more breath. On the inhale, we rebend that left knee. Tuck the right toes underneath you, plant your palms, and step back to a downward dog, hips up in the air. Now come back up on both toes again. Pull your knees up. Shift forward, come to your high plank, look forward. Push the earth away. Lower to your knees or go halfway down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Roll over your toes, upward dog or low cobra. Upward dog, your thighs are off the floor. The only thing that's on the floor is your pedicure. If you're in cobra, your belly is on the floor. Downward dog, hips up in the air. So we're moving our body in many directions. Our spine has 6 directions to move in. We're going to cover them all today. Bring your feet together again. Lift high up on your toes and then lift the right leg off the floor. This time stay nice and high with it, chest towards thigh. Look between your hands and bring it all the way through. Bring your right hand to your hip. You can always be on your left knee. Right hand to your hip, lengthen your spine and rotate to the right side. Right arm comes up. Spreading your fingers, shoulders stacking. So it's another spinal twist. And the tendency is for that right hip to like shift off to the right side. So again, just draw it into center. One more big breath. As you exhale, bring your right hand down. Find some stability. If you need to, you can put your hands on your thighs first or rise up to crescent lunge, arms up overhead. Right knee is bent. Back leg is straight, active. Good. Breathe in, breathe out. Trust yourselves. Tuck the ribs underneath you so you're not dumping into your lower back. And then bring prayer down to your heart center. Lean slightly forward. We just did this on our knees, right? So I'm leaning forward almost like I'm going to go into a warrior 3. Rotate to the right side. My thumbs come to my heart. And then the left arm hooks outside right knee. Belly twist. Breathe. Get your belly off your thighs. Don't collapse. Use the strength of your body. Option here always to open up, hook or bind, single or 2-arm, full bind. You choose. If it takes you off and loses your breath, you're in the wrong place, right? One more breath. From the twist, come down to the floor. Turn your left foot on its side, just a little bit, about 45 degrees. Notice that right hip wants to swing out to the right side, so draw it back into the center. Press through the bottoms of your feet, bring your hands to your hips, lift your heart, and come up to standing. So, straighten the front leg for a moment. Shoulders and hips face front. Put your hands on your hip bones so you feel it, right? So that left hip doesn't turn out to the side. So you might have to shorten your stance, you might have to widen your stance, you might have to hop in a little bit. Bend your right knee, keeping the shoulders and hips facing forward. Arms up overhead, warrior 1. Now you can have your hands together if your shoulders are open to it. If not, have your arms outside, or maybe even a little forward and then lift your heart up. Breathe. Push that back pinky toe to the floor. Reach out of your waistline like you're being pulled to the sky with your arms, but you're being pulled to the earth with your pelvis and your thighs. One more breath. As you exhale, release your hands to the floor. Step into a high plank. Stay strong through your center. Look forward. Go halfway down. Chaturanga. Upward dog. Downward dog. So you can always modify on your knees and child's pose or downward facing dog. Breathe in, breathe out. Feet together. High up on your toes. If you need a break, please take a break. Left leg in the air. Nice and high. Look between your hands. Step that left leg through. Rise up to your fingertips. Bring the right hand down. Left hand to your hip. We're going to twist to the left side. Stack your shoulders. Bring the crown of your head to the front of your mat. Lift your right knee up. Again, if you need to be on your knees, that's fine. What I want to avoid is that dumping onto your left side here. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more big breath. Good. And then exhale your hands to the floor. Adjust your hips back into center. If you need to, you put your hands on your thighs or rise all the way up. Crescent lunge. So my shoulders are open here. I take my hands together, but you don't have to. Right? It doesn't make it right or wrong. It doesn't make it better or worse. It just means your shoulders are more open or not. Back leg is nice and strong. Hips square towards the midline. Inhale. Now bring prayer to your heart center. Lean slightly forward. Feel that left leg have to hold you up. Rotate to your left side. Then hook your arm around. So you always lengthen before you twist or bend. I say this all the time. And then see if you can bring your belly off your thigh. Bring your left knee over your ankle, right knee or right heel over your toes. And then maybe you take an exalted arm. Maybe you take a half or full bind. Doesn't matter. I want you to be wherever you are today. And be happy with it. Be satisfied with it. One more breath. As you exhale, release your hands to the floor. Turn your back foot on its side about 45 degrees. Draw that left hip back to center. Good, rise up your way. Arms up, warrior one. We're gonna back out of the front knee first, so straighten it up. And then rebend it. Things to look for. Shoulders and hips point forward, so maybe put your hands back on those hip bones. And turn your hip forward. Bring your knee over your ankle on the left side, and your right pinky toe is down on the floor. Breathe in, and breathe out. Warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Hands on hips are fine, just to find. You know, it's good to find our alignment cues, right, before we move. One more big breath. As you exhale, release your hands to the floor. Good. Step back to a high plank. Skip it if you want. Go right to downward dog or take a vinyasa. Some of you take extra push-ups there. You know who you are. Take what you need. Breathe. Stay here in downward dog for a second. Turn your toes in pigeon-toed and bring your knees towards each other and just let your hips drop. So bend your knees, turn your toes, let your head and hips drop. Or head and chest drop, really. Your hips are kind of staying up. Take another breath. One more. Good. Spin the legs forward. Straighten the legs for breath. Rise up on your toes. Make your way to the top of the mat. However you get there is your choice. Maybe it's your body's choice, right? And fold over, hang your head. On the inhaling breath, bend your knees, climb to your fingertips, and bring your hands to your hips. Sit your way back in your heels. Keep your knees apart. I don't know if you're hearing what I'm hearing. It's Johnny Cash. All right, bring your arms out in front of you. I always laugh when I hear him sing some songs. So now I'm reaching my arms forward like you're gonna pull me, and I'm sitting back like I wanna resist you, like a tug of war, right? If you pull me over, my team loses. I get blamed for the whole thing. But if I sit back, we have the option or the chance of pulling you to me. Now rise your torso up just a little bit more. Keep sitting back, weight in the heels. And then press through your feet, rise all the way up. Hands to your heart center, arms by your side. Stay here in Tadasana for a moment. Close your eyes, settle in. Calm your breath down, calm your thoughts down. Drop your shoulders down, pull them together towards each other, down towards your tailbone. Press through the bottoms of your feet and lift your kneecaps up. Tuck your tailbone underneath you so you're not arching your back and pooching out those ribs, right? And then the crown of the head reaches towards the sky. So every time you come in this pose, that's how you should feel. Strong and powerful like a mountain. Now open up your eyes if they're closed, spread your fingers. Inhale, bend your knees, sweep the floor, chair pose, Utkatasana. We just came out of it, my knees are together, you can have your knees apart. Exhale, fold over, Uttanasana, head to shin. Halfway lift, inhale, step or jump or fly back through your vinyasa. So go through chaturanga on your knees if needed, upward dog and downward dog, or you skip it and you just go to downward dog. Right foot steps in between the hands. Left foot turns on its side. Again, that right hip wants to shoot out, so I'm going to draw it back in. And then I'm going to rise to stand, warrior one, inhale. Now this moves with breath. On the exhale, we come back down to the floor. Step back to plank or down dog. We vinyasa or we skip it. We add push-ups. This is all individual. This is up to you. Hips up in the air. Some of you will take 1,000,000 more push-ups. When you're ready, left foot's going to step forward, right foot's going to turn, arms come up, draw the hips towards midline. Lots to think about in a small movement and with a breath. Empty the breath, hands down, step back, take your flow, skip it, do what you've got to do. Add to it every day, every time on the mat is different. Hips up for downward dog. We stay for a few breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. And exhale. If this is still too much, go to your child's pose. One more breath. Rise up on your toes, soften your knees, look forward, make your way to the top of the mat, halfway lift. Forward fold, let it go. Bend your knees, chair pose. Arms up. Stand up all the way. Bring your hands to your heart center. Bring your arms by your side. So that's Sun Salutation B, Surya Namaskar B. So we move through it. The addition is the warrior stance, okay? It's one breath per movement. If you get lost, go to down dog or child's pose. We'll take it together. Take a breath in, bring your arms down, sweep up, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, fold, head to shins, Uttanasana. Halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, walk, step, float, hop through Chaturanga, or skip it and go to down dog. Upward dog, looking good, Pam. Downward dog, hips up in the air. Right foot steps forward, left foot turns. Warrior one, inhale. Good, exhale through your vinyasa sequence. Chaturanga, upward dog into downward dog, or any modifications that you're taking. Left foot steps forward, right foot turns, warrior one, inhale. Chaturanga, exhale. So notice how we move with the breath. Every movement has a breath. And then we hold our place, but not our breath, in downward dog. Breathe in and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now we're going to step forward with the right foot again. Turn the foot for warrior one, just came from there. And now we're going to spin the back foot a little bit more open and spin our torso towards the left side of the mat. So now shoulders and hips, point your left to your left wall, wherever that is. Back out of the front leg, and then rebend it. And now let's talk about warrior two. So your right knee is over your ankle, your upper thighs spread outward, your inner heels connect towards each other, and your right and left arms are pulling you in two directions from your midline. Stay there and breathe. Inhale and exhale. Good. Very good. Good. So take the work in your hips, not your knees. Reach in two directions like you're being pulled apart. One more breath. Good. Now flip your palms upward. Reach your arms towards the front of the mat. And then take the left arm down the left leg and the right arm up and overhead. Keep the front knee bent as much as it was in your warrior two. That's a tricky part. Anything you want to do with this back arm is up to you. Whatever speaks to you here. One more breath, gang. Inhale, release back to warrior two. So the only thing that changes now is our torso and our arms. Now straighten your right leg, turn your toes to the left side, 1/4 turn, and fold in the middle of a two wide leg fold. So your legs should be apart, as wide as a lunge, and then hang your head in between your two legs. Shift your weight a little bit more into the balls of the feet rather than the heels. And then lengthen your spine. Walk your hands out in front of you. Shift your weight a little bit forward. And then soften your knees as you shift your weight a little bit back. And let the chest rest in between the arms. Hang your head down. Create no tension in your neck. So if you need to release even more, just let it hang like a ripe piece of fruit, as they say. One more breath. Inhale, walk your hands back under your shoulders, lengthen your spine. Walk around to the front of the mat. Turn the right toes. Turn the left toes about 45 degrees. Find that warrior one more time. Warrior one is where our hips face the front of the mat. And as you exhale, hands to the floor, spin your back foot around, and take your right arm up and counter that twist. Right hip hugs into midline. Right arm up. Maybe you gaze, maybe you don't. Another big breath. As you exhale, bring the right hand down. Step your left foot forward about halfway and straighten your right leg. Now walk your right hip back and your left hip forward, climb to your fingertips. If you need a block, if you only have one, put it in front of your foot or on the inside or outside. Rise up halfway, look up, and then fold over your right shin. Here's where the adjustment comes. Right hip pulls back, left hip pulls forward. If you're tight in your hamstrings, your knees are going to be bent or your hands are going to rise up on something else. But keep working the squareness of the hips. Now, shift more weight into the back leg than the front leg. And it's all kind of on the inside here. And then shift more weight into the front leg than the back leg. And now can you have your weight evenly distributed in both feet and hang your head down? So all this suggestion is like internal, right? You might not see it so much from the outside. One more breath, Prasvartanasana. And as you exhale, or as you inhale, lengthen your spine. Once again, step back to a low lunge. Step your right foot to your left foot. Either go to dog or just take a vinyasa here. Add in your push-ups if you want. Good. There you go, Peter. Nice. Breathe in, heads up, hips up, head down. Breathe. Look between your hands and step your left foot forward. Turn your right foot on its side. Warrior one. Big breath in. When we empty the breath, we shift the back foot ever so slightly at about 90 degrees. Warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Come out of it for a moment. And then readjust. And here's where we get the opportunity to refine. Left knee is over the ankle, so it's a little bit more forward than you probably want it to be. Your right pinky toe is down. Your inner thigh spread outward while your outer thigh spread outward into those dimples, which we worked on a lot in fitness this week, guys, right? And then heels towards each other. And then the arms reach out of your center point to both sides of your mat. Pulling back and pulling forward at the same time. Eye gaze is steady. Don't be afraid to bend that front leg. Just keep the knee over the ankle. Flip your palms, reach forward with your arms. Right arm down, left arm up. Reverse your warrior pose. Whatever you might have done with that right arm on the other side, feel free to take it or keep it down that back leg. Just try not to put any pressure in your back knee. Breathe. Inhale and exhale. One more. Good. Inhale back to warrior two as you exhale. Straighten your front leg. Turn your toes a quarter turn to the right side. This time interlace your fingers behind your back, palms together. If you need to, you use a towel or strap. Lengthen your spine, knuckles to earth, lift your heart up. And then fold over in between your two legs. Hang your head down. Breathe in and breathe out. Trying to keep the weight out of the heels so that the knees don't hyperextend. You want to keep your angle slightly bent, right? Not behind your hips. Let your head come down. Maybe your arms can go a little bit further without any extra force outside of gravity. One more breath. Good. Now gently release your hands underneath your shoulders. Lengthen your spine again. Pivot around to the left side. Low lunge, spin the back foot in, right hand in, left arm opens up, twist. Pull the right knee up. Crown of the head towards the front of your mat. Hug your hips towards center, big breath. Inhale and exhale. Good, look down, left hand down. Step your right foot about halfway up, straighten your front leg. Square up your hips, right hip forward, left hip back. Lengthen your spine or put your hands on blocks or shins. And then fold over your left shin. And once again, put more weight into that right heel for a moment. And then put more weight into that left heel for a moment. And then even the weight out. So distribute your weight both in the front and back foot as you fold your body over your left shin. Let go. Breathe in. And empty out. One more time. Halfway lift, inhale. Rebend your front knee, step back into a low lunge, and find your way to downward dog however you choose. I like the vinyasa, it's like wiping the slate clear, you know, the chalkboard. Take the hips up in the air, downward dog. Let's turn those knees and toes in again. Sink your hips back, let your chest rest towards your thighs. Shift weight out of the palms towards the heels, one more breath. And then turn your knees back forward, toes back forward, downward dog. Let's walk our hands to our feet, back of the mat. Coming forward, grab opposite elbows and hang your body. Maybe you like to sway a little bit here. And then just switch the cross of the arms to the funky you're feeling. And then hold center, just find stillness for a breath. cross as you roll through your spine. Bring your biceps by your ears, lift up. Side bend to the right side as you exhale. Don't collapse into the right side. Inhale back to center, up and over to the other side. Lift out of your waistline. And then come on back up to center. Release your hands by your side, roll your shoulders back and around. Bring your hands to your heart, bring your feet together. If that's too uncomfortable for you, because bringing our feet together is maybe a little less balanced for us, but that's okay because we're going to balance on one leg now anyway. So shift your weight into your left leg without collapsing into it. So just see if you can just lift the heel of the right foot for a second without shifting into the weight into the left hip. And then just continue to lift the leg up with the same pressure of that left leg pressing down. Open the right knee to the right side. Flex the foot. Grab a hold of your foot, shin, or ankle and place the foot either above the knee or below it. Feel free to hold on to a wall, a chair, or anything else. Tree pose. Now you got to draw that left hip towards midline. And your feet and your hands are doing the same thing. They're pushing against each other. Good. Beautiful. So anywhere but your knee. Nice. Good, guys. Lovely trees. I wish I knew how to take a screenshot, but somebody will have to teach me that. All right. Breathe. So we're in tree pose. Keeping your hands at your heart. Bring your right leg forward. Lift the knee up a little higher. Extend the right leg out in front of you. Feel your quadriceps. Step forward and down and bring your left leg off the floor. Variation of Warrior 3. Dip your belly, arch your back for Digasana. Arms come out to the side. Breathe. So pull the right hip and left hip towards midline. Inhale. Exhale, knee to chest. Left knee comes into your chest. We're going to step it down for a second so we can do the way we did the other side. So stand up nice and tall, hips and shoulders are squared. First, start by lifting the left heel up and notice, does anything collapse into that right hip, or can you keep everything centered? And then bring the left knee off the floor, the left foot off the floor without collapsing anywhere. Flex the foot, open out to the left side. You'll notice that sides are different. And then take a hold of the foot, take it above, like this is my different side, or below the knee. So we're going into tree pose on the other side. Some of us are, I might not be. Bring your foot and your inner thigh towards each other, hands in prayer. So your hands and feet are doing the same thing. And then think about bringing this right hip towards midline. Just square everything back into center. Pull your knee up, breathe. Inhale and exhale. Don't think about what you're feeling, just be there. Acknowledge it. Slowly we're going to bring that left leg forward, balancing, kick the leg forward, extend it, flex the foot, step forward to the left foot, and then bring the right leg behind you for a quick Warrior 3, and then dip the belly, arch the back, Digasana, arms come by your side, flying. Breathe. Don't criticize, don't over-examine it. It is what it is. It's balance. If you need to touch down, you touch down. And then slowly we bring that right knee back to the chest. And step 2 feet to the floor. Good. If you're not at the top of your mat, take a few steps forward. Good. Bring the arms down by your side. Inhale, stretch the arms all the way up overhead. Exhale, we're going to fold down again, hands to floor, shins or blocks. Halfway lift, inhale. Step or jump back, take one more vinyasa sequence here just to wipe the slates. Upward dog, into a downward dog, breathe. So we're going to start to bring it towards the floor for a moment, bring your feet together. Right leg in the air, bend the left knee, square your hips again. And then straighten the left leg and lift the right leg a little higher. Bend your top knee and just let the heel hang towards the left buttocks. Now draw your right shoulder down. Some of you will stay right here or be on your knee. Some of you will follow that foot over your back arm and you'll flip over into a variation of bridge or dancer's pose, whatever you want to call it. Breathe in, breathe out. And if you turn it upside down, turn it back around, right leg in the air. Now bring your right knee to your chest, come forward, hold, not your breath, and shift your right leg off to the left side under the left arm. And if you want to, you spin open into this variation of Dancer's Bridge. Lift your bottom hip up. Breathe. So if you're not there, your hands are on the floor. And then bring it back in. Lift it back up in the air. Bring your right knee to right wrist. Set up for your pigeon. Walk your hands back. Tuck your left toes underneath you. Shimmy that left hip back. And square shoulders and hips. If you need to, a block or a blanket under that right tailbone, or that right sitting bone, I should say, is very efficient. Stay here for one more breath, and then start to fold forward to whatever degree you can go. So if this is totally impossible, you can go on your back and just bring your right ankle across your left thigh. So listen to your body, know your body. You may not know it yet. And then let your body melt down. Just melt. One more breath, everybody. Come on back up to your hands. Let's chop. If you're on a block, you might need to move it for a moment. Drop your right hip to the floor and bring your left leg all the way up and around. Now, if that's not going to happen, straighten your bottom leg. And if that's still not going to happen, straighten your bottom leg and bring your left leg on the inside of it. Make sure you're not sitting on your right heel, and hug your knee, your left knee into your chest and create length in your spine. Inhale. And exhale. Pull it harder towards your chest and then drop it deeper towards the floor. So you get that outer hip. Now you can stay right here. You can take one arm and bind, the other hand behind you, or some of you will take your arm outside the thigh, bind half, or full binds here as well. So any bind that you take, as long as your form doesn't really change and your breath doesn't go away, is welcome. Hi, Cosby. Breathe in. And twist a little deeper, looking over your left shoulder. So as I am pulling my knee to the right, I'm pushing my hip to the floor and back behind me. So I'm creating all this length in my really tired old hips. One more breath. Look to your right side as you exhale. Just twist to the right side. Release. Good. Let's shift that left leg back behind us again. Tuck the left toes up and lift your right leg in the air and shake it out. Just get rid of the tension in the hip and knee and place 4 on the floor. Downward facing dog. Come on your toes, left leg in the air. Bend your knees squared for a moment and then press through the right foot as you open that left hip open and keep your weight in both the right and left arms. Bend your top knee. You can be on your right knee as well. And if you want to follow and flip the dog, take your left foot behind you and press it onto the floor. You can either do it into a back bend or a straight leg twist, Dancer's Bridge. One more big breath. Good. Left hand down, left leg up. Bring your left knee back to your chest and shoot it underneath the right arm. You can stay here with 2 arms down or spin open into a Dancer's Bridge. Pulling that left hip up off the floor, right? So don't collapse it. Really pull up on it. One more breath. Right hand down, left leg up. Knee to left wrist. Shift forward and find yourself in pigeon setup. If you need, block underneath that left hip. Tuck your right toes under. Lift your heart up. Stay here for a moment. So we're working like Warrior One. We're getting our hips and shoulders squared. One more breath. And when and if you're ready, come down a little bit at a time and fold over that left leg. Again, this is not a pose for you. You can go on your back, cross left ankle over right leg. So there's no I can't do it, there's just a modification for it. There's no it's not enough for me, there's an amplification for it. So there's always somewhere you can go in this practice that speaks to you. There's many times that I sit in a child's pose during a vinyasa sequence or a plank sequence. So, you know, you have to make it work for you. Let your body come down as much as it will. Slowly begin to bring yourself back up, hands down, chest up. If you're on a block, shift it off to the side, let your left hip come down to the floor. Spin your right leg outside of your left. Adjust yourself, make sure you're not sitting on your left heel, and again, if you need to, you straighten the bottom leg. And then first we're gonna hold on and hug that knee into our chest so that we have some length in the spine before we twist. Right? So you can stay here with two arms, or you can carry your right arm behind you, tense your fingers, or maybe that arm wants to come on the outside, or maybe you have a full or half bind. So again, if you get to a bind but you're all crunched over and that left shoulder is hanging down and you can't lift your chest up, it's not worth the bind. Stay in a lesser position till you have the space. Breathe in. Twist a little deeper as you exhale. Use the breath. Bring the right knee to the left and the hip to the floor and back. One more breath. Good. Keep the twist but look to your left. And then counter pose. And this time we're going to come back up. We're going to let our legs come out in front of us. Shake out your legs and rub your knees and just kick it out. If you feel that you need another vinyasa, go for it. And then just rock and roll your hips from side to side so that we're in a seated, I'm going to turn my mat actually, guys. So you stay where you are. I'm going to spin on the side so you can see a little bit better. So we're in staff pose, hands by your side, body is long. Just make sure when you go down to the floor you have the space behind you for your head on your mat if you choose to. Today let's take our legs about as wide as the mat. So the short edge of your mat. And then bring your fingertips by your knees and lift your chest up. If this still isn't good, bend your knees so that you can stay upright. All right, here's where our core fires up, just sitting up. It's nothing fancy, right? Now, creep your fingers forward until they lift off the floor. Bring your palms to face each other. Inhale, nice and tall. I want you to feel like those sitting bones are either underneath you or slightly behind you. And then reach forward, just hinge at your hips, don't go anywhere. Turn your toes up towards your face, pull your knees up really strong, press your thighs to the floor, breathe. Good, then sit up nice and tall, point your toes, and go down just halfway with your belly into your spine. Let's just roll down to like our kidney area, yeah? Just hold it there for a moment. If that's too much, go lower or put your hands down. Then to come up, I'm going to round my back, flex my feet, come up and roll in front of those sitting bones again, and reach maybe a little bit more forward. Long spine, crown of the head to tailbone long. Breathe. Point your toes, round your back, go down maybe a little further. Let's see if we can get down to the bottom of our shoulder blades. Bottom of your shoulder blades, your little angel tips. Breathe in. Good. As we exhale, chin to chest. If you need to hold on, hold on. Roll up. Flex your feet, sit up tall. Reach out maybe a little further. This time, see if you can reach your peace fingers around your big toes. If you can't, bend your knees so you can. But keep the length in your spine. That's more important to me than anything else. So inhale. Shoulders back, pull your heart through. Pulling against your toes. Let go of your toes. No action in the spine. Round your back, point your toes. Go all the way down to the floor this time. Adjust your canvas if I need to see better. And hug your knees into your chest as wide as your hips. Take a happy baby pose. Feet to the ceiling and rock side to side on your back. And then stay in center when you're ready. And we'll just do one back bend today of your choice. So hug your knees to your chest. Pull it in. Everybody lift head and shoulders up. If you want to make this a full back bend into a wheel or a bridge, hold on to your thigh. Your ankles will all start together in bridge anyway. Place your heels to the floor. Notice that your back kind of arches up here. So now tilt your pelvis so your back imprints into the floor. Hang on to those heels for a few breaths. Keeping your heel in line with your sitting bone, knees over your hips, in line with your hips. And then begin to peel your spine off the floor. So you can stay holding onto your legs. You can let go, interlace your fingers behind your back, underneath you. Or if you want to take a full wheel, bring your hands to your shoulders, fingertips pointing towards shoulders. Press lightly to the top of your head, take a breath, and then push down through the floor to lift your hips up. And think about pulling your knees and hips towards the midline. Once again, breathe in and breathe out. So take your option and take at least 3 to 5 breaths in that option without completely collapsing into it. Slowly begin to come back down. Good, Cindy, can you lift one leg in the air? I bet you can. Yes, good. Slow and controlled, take your time. Yep, one leg is always better, isn't it? And then roll down now, hug your knees to your chest. One more spinal twist, arms out to the side, move your hips to the right, let your knees fall to the left side. And then come back through center, knees fall to the right side, look to the left side. Come back to center. Once again, bring those knees to your chest. Flex your feet this time. Pull against the bottoms of your feet and push everything close. So bring your knees towards your chest and your heels towards your buttocks. And see if you can lengthen your spine down. So lengthen your tailbone to the floor. If you'd like one more time, lift your head and shoulders up and get a really tight ball and a little bit more action here. Take a big breath in. And when you empty that breath, release your head, release your arms, release your legs. And final Shavasana is our next pose. So come onto your backs. Open up your palms. Make any adjustments. If you need something underneath your knees, your back, if you want something to cover your eyes, or you're cold and you want to cover your body, you want to take a headstand, beautiful, Cindy. Anything else that I haven't offered to you is always an option. And if you're ready to settle in, just come back slowly and let go. Scan your body from head to toe. And just notice if there is any more tension that you are holding on to. Let go of it. Just direct your breath right to it. And take a few moments here in this beautiful gratitude pose, grateful to our bodies for accepting the work that we put on it, power of the vinyasa flow. And we take this moment to incorporate all that work into Shavasana. And if you have the luxury of staying in Shavasana long fingers and toes. Start to find a little bit of gentle movement back in the body. Draw your knees up and roll to either side. Take your time there or come back to a comfortable seat. Closing your eyes, just gazing down to the tip of the nose, hands to your heart center. Take a moment here. I am grateful to have you sharing practice with me, giving me your energy, allowing me to share my teaching, my learnings, my practice with you. I learn from you as well. So thank you so much for being here today and all the days that we've been together. Bring your thumbs to your third eye. Take a breath. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace to all. And then bowing down to the light that we find within each other. Namaste, Satnam, go in peace. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Happy Saturday. If I don't see you for Thanksgiving, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. For those of you at home, stay fit, stay healthy.